Welcome, everybody, to FYC Deep Cuts. We are back. We are back and better than ever. We're back. Baseball's back. The world is back. We've missed you guys. I'm happy to be here. And we're talking today about some baseball stuff, if you haven't noticed. I'm your host, Gagne. With me, as always, my partner in crime, Ronaldo. How you been, buddy?
What's going on, buddy? How's it going, everyone? It's good to be back. I feel like we were gone for 4 weeks, something like that. I mean, life just catches up with you.
Time is a construct that I don't understand anymore. So yeah,
yeah, it's almost like time just doesn't even matter these days. But we're back. We're back. We'll take breaks here and there, but we'll always be back. Whatever.
you can always count on us.
Yeah, but like Chris said, from our backgrounds, we being that it's the second month of baseball season of 2021, we decided to talk about baseball movies and how Hollywood portrays these movies in feature films. And I think thinking about this topic, I can't think of a bad movie, a bad baseball movie. I've always really enjoyed them, whether they're good, they're okay, or they're fantastic. I can't think of one that I didn't really like. Now, granted, I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen enough to kind of gauge what Hollywood does with them. And for the most part, I like them. I do.
Did you compile a list based on your favorites? Do you have a top five? I found that hard to nail down. I think there's always like a strong three in there, but then the other two I think rotate based on what I've maybe watched recently. But yeah, I agree with you. There's so many good ones, and we can touch on some of them. But did you make a top five list?
I didn't make a top five list. I know my favorite movie, and I'll be proud to say it. My favorite baseball movie is A League of Their Own. It's just amazing. That movie is just top notch for me. It's got everything, and we'll dig into the details about that in a little bit.
I was going to say, you didn't even bury the lead. I mean, my God, 2 minutes in, we're already shooting off our favorites.
I love it, man. I do. I love that movie. It is
good.
the best baseball movie out there, in my opinion. And I know there's other good ones like The Sandlot and Major League. Even Major League 2 is pretty good.
Yeah.
But for me, it has to be A League of Their Own. It's amazing. That's a 5 for me.
It's a strong number one. I can't argue against it. It's in my top three. I mean, again, like that, even the top three, I would say rotates, which one's my favorite. This week, it's probably Major League. Like, I've watched it recently. I just still love it. I still quote it. It was at a time where, I was in Little League and thought this was probably the most adult movie I'd seen at the time. And it just hits home for me. So good.
It's good. Yeah. I mean, even going back, let's think of some of the cheesier baseball movies like Little Big League and what's the other
Rookie
one?
of the Year.
Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Those movies, even though they're not, or even Angels in the Outfield, that's another one, right?
Yeah.
They're not great, but I think it's because for me, I grew up with baseball. I love baseball. It's in my blood. My dad took me to a bunch of games when I was a kid, and he taught me the sport, and I love it. And so I think because I know a lot about it, I just gravitate towards them, and that's why I can't really find a whole lot of fault in these type of movies. That's just me.
Yeah, and we grew up similar. Games were just my favorite thing to do. I played baseball for 10 years or so, and I loved everything about baseball. And so you give me a baseball movie, and yeah, chances are I'm gonna like it. It's hard to find even the bottom of the barrel ones like The Fan. It's still fun.
I'm going to stop you right there, man, because I love The Fan. I think that's a great movie. I mean, if you're going to talk about The Fan, right? Okay. There's baseball movies, and then there's baseball movies that don't solely focus on the sport, that focus more on the fan part. And I think The Fan with Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes is fantastic. And maybe I'm a little bit biased because it takes place in San Francisco and the San Francisco Giants, but I love it. It's directed by Tony Scott, man.
Okay. I mean, I say that with a little trepidation. I haven't seen it in 20 years. Well, so I remember it being kind of comical, but you're right. It's still, it's about our Giants, and it's got De Niro. So, and Wesley Del Toro.
And Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. Well, Wesley Snipes, he had a better baseball movie. So
but he portrayed a wannabe Barry Bonds, sort of.
Yes,
this was going through troubles.
This is true. I want to watch it again now.
You should. I highly recommend it. Another movie that's doesn't focus so much on playing baseball. It's about the fan. One of my favorites is Fever Pitch. Fever Pitch is so
Ooh,
good.
good
And
one.
I highly recommend that to couples. If it's a great romantic comedy about baseball and how far baseball can get into a man's head, being loving a sports team and then finding somebody who he really likes and he's trying to balance that fandom versus his relationship. It's so good. It's great.
It truly is. I think, if I'm not mistaken, fun fact, I think that's a Stephen King novel that they turned into that movie.
No,
I'm
really?
I'm almost certain. Hopefully, I don't get bashed by our fans that correct me, but I'm pretty sure that that's the case. And another fun fact about it is they actually were filming it when the Red Sox won their first
Yeah.
World Series. I mean, you just can't talk about kismet. Like, that just adds to the magic of that movie. Yeah, that's a good one. I have not thought about in a long, long time, but is it's underrated. I feel like it doesn't get the due it should for a baseball film.
It's great. We watch it a lot in my household, and
It's
we
been a
love
while.
it. Yeah, it's really good. Baseball is just there's so much history in baseball, and that's why I think Hollywood tackles it pretty well. And it's not a knock on football or basketball, which are great sports. I just think baseball's been around longer. It has been around longer.
Mhm.
And it's deep rooted in so much history, and it works really well. I know it's not the fastest sport, and it's not the flashiest sport, but there's so much history to it. And I think sometimes Hollywood portrays that really well, and it comes across really well. Case in point, I'm going to go back to it. A League of Their Own.
History, yeah.
It's history, and it's so great. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I see your history and raise you an even further back in history movie that I love, Eight Men Out. I actually did a report for history, U.S. history, when I was in high school, obviously, but because I loved that movie so much and it was such a historic thing that happened at the time with that whole Black Sox scandal, that's another one
Yeah.
that I really love. I'm a John Cusack, apologist. He can do no wrong. So
Well, 2012. I mean,
yeah,
just saying,
I mean,
2012.
if you haven't seen that movie or watched that episode, you should check it out.
Go check it out on
Yeah.
FYC. We reviewed it. It's not that great. So
It's not as good as I remembered.
that's what we do. We review bad movies for you.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to baseball.
Back to baseball. A League of Their Own is good. I have a hard time getting through that movie without crying. God, like
Yeah.
it's so funny, but it's so emotional at the same time.
Yeah.
I dare you not to, tear up when you hear Madonna's "Used to Be Our Playground" at the end.
Yeah, it's funny. I really don't like that song. That's the
Really?
fault. Yeah, I don't like that song, but it comes at the end that I don't even care. Man, I cried. I bawled in that movie. It's so good, but it's so funny. Tom Hanks as the manager and Gina Davis as the catcher, Dottie, and her sister Kit. And what happens is all these men have to go to the war, so they get women to play baseball, and you think it's kind of a joke at one point, but then they realize how great these women are, and there's actually a museum for what happened, and they portray it at the end, and they show all of it. It's so good. It's just great.
It is. Yeah, it's tough to pick something over that, because that's honestly one of the best things about baseball movies, because you typically have lots of players involved, literally. You get an ensemble cast that, generally speaking, is insanely good.
Yeah.
You just have a diverse cast, and comedians and straight-laced people. Even something like Bull Durham, is one of my all-time favorites. It's in my top 3.
Okay.
I love Costner. I love the script. I love Tim. Oh my God,
Tim Robbins.
Yes, thank you, Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
He's just phenomenal, and it's just silly, and I love the focus on the minor leagues, and this young player who's up and coming, and this old guy who's just never been to the big league, or has been, but it's just been in the minors. And it's such a simple story, but so well done, and such a good cast that I watch it at least once a year. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's pretty gritty. It's not for kids, by the way. So, but it's a good movie. No,
So
it's not for kids.
Baseball movie, but it's about a love affair in baseball.
Yeah, Kevin Costner. I was just talking to my brother today, and he brought up Kevin Costner. Is he Mr. Baseball?
I mean, he's got to be, right? Well, I mean, not literally. Mr. Baseball was a movie with Tom Selleck, but
that's a good one too. I like that one. It's Mr. Baseball. That was, and he plays in Japan,
Again,
right?
yes, yeah, it's another, again, I would call it lower level, but yes, it's
Yeah.
good, it's fine. What
Yeah, the
about
Dragons. The Dragons, that was a team. They had the
Mr.
like what
3000 with Bernie Mac?
Mr. 3000. Yeah. But Kevin Costner's been in what? How many baseball movies? He's been in Bull Durham. He was
Field of
in
Dreams.
Field of Dreams. For the Love of the Game.
Oh, yes.
That's
That's
a
actually one I haven't seen.
You haven't seen that? I saw that's pretty
No.
good.
I've
That's
and
good.
I've heard, yeah, that's another really, really strong one.
Yeah. So I think
Three?
that's it. Three?
Three.
Three? So make some
Yeah. He does a lot
okay.
of sports movies. And now I'm thinking like Tin Cup and golf and now, but he's at least three. I don't think we're forgetting one, but
I don't know. Hopefully if we are forgetting one, maybe someone can let us know.
yeah, I'd be remiss to say that I leave out one a lot of the time that everybody seems to have in their top, and that's The Natural with Robert Redford.
Okay.
I I like the movie. It's just
Yeah.
another one I don't repeat viewing, and so it's been 20 years, 25 years since I've seen that film, and so I
Hmm.
always leave it out of my top five, but not intentionally. I just don't ever get around to watching it.
Okay.
It's been a
Um
long time.
yeah, another one I remember watching as a kid was the Bad News Bears
Yes,
with Walter Matthau, the original, not the new one with Billy Bob Thornton that came out.
didn't see the new one.
But the old one, I mean, that holds a lot of memories for me as these,
Mm.
kid. And speaking about kids, baseball movies, Sandlot. Sandlot is a great movie.
Top three.
A lot of top three for you, The Sandlot.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I can relate to it. Growing
Yeah.
up as a kid, playing baseball in the summer in the backyard with my neighbors and friends, I can totally relate to it. So it's a good movie. Not my favorite, but it's a really good movie, I think.
Yeah, because the little league connection there, even though obviously they were playing in backyard baseball, but being on a little league team and having those summers where you just all you do is practice 2 or 3 times a week and play
Yeah.
games twice a week, and you're with these people, and they're your guys, they're your boys, and like having a summer of just running around on your bikes, and I love it. There's this, it's almost perfect if Benny didn't go to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm knocking it. It's like a 4 because he went to the Dodgers.
Oh
Be more
man.
LA, Hollywood.
Wow. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm leaving it at that.
What?
It's a good movie though.
We have all these Dodger fans that are gonna.
I don't know. It's a good movie though.
It
I
is
really
good.
like The Sandlot. I probably rate that at a four for me, maybe three and a
Yeah,
half. But
yeah,
because there's the heart moment in that movie is when they grow up, and
mm,
everybody kind of goes their own ways, but
sure.
you relate to it as a kid. Uh, Baseball is called America's pastime, and rightfully so. It's been through so much. It was first started around 1850, established as a professional sport team. First one. It's been through a civil war. It's been through so many wars. What else? It was around a time during where our nation was divided by race. I mean, it kind of still is if you think about it. But it gave us Jackie Robinson. So Jackie Robinson was the first African American player to be signed by a major league team, the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Dodgers. But things like that, and it paved the way for players like Willie Mays. Who else? Hank
Hank
Aaron.
Aaron.
Hank Aaron. So baseball's been around, and I think people can connect to it because it's been, it's deep rooted in history, and we all have some kind of fond memory with baseball. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that they've made so many movies about it. I mean, that's another one we haven't even mentioned yet. 42 with
Yeah.
Chadwick Boseman. I mean, there is so much history. You can't deny it, and that's why I think movies work because. Well, maybe the fans have dwindled or, it goes through its peaks and valleys with popularity as far as sports go. Like, everyone grew up, I feel like most people grew up going to a baseball game, and they recognize, that's just one of those things that you do with your family and you do with friends, and you're kind of making that connection to going to a movie like that, where, you're sharing that love of the game
Yeah.
along with, getting to see some big screen production of a sport you love.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And
I'm a little bit biased. I this is my favorite sport, so I'm always going to gravitate to it most. I like other sports, but this is the sport that I love. This is the sport that I grew up with. This is the sport that's in my blood. And because of that, like I said in the beginning, I'm just naturally going to gravitate towards a baseball movie. Heck, you and I are in a fantasy baseball league with a bunch of our friends, and shout out to the Justice League fantasy baseball team if you're out there for watching this. We're rooted in this. We love it. So
yeah, and I mean, I'm going to make a bold statement here, but I'm going to say that hands down, I would take, any top 10 baseball movie against any other, top sport movie and say that I just think that baseball movies just kind of transcend, I think, more than the sport. And I don't know, I have a love for them, and will watch a baseball movie anytime. So
I agree. So with that said, my recommendation for all of you guys is A League of Their Own. Highly recommend that. Go catch it. Go watch it. And if you have time, watch Fever Pitch. Such a good, funny, romantic comedy. Love
Fever
that movie.
Pitch. I know we're missing some. Please let
Yeah.
us know. We didn't even mention Hardball with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
That's
Or
like
Moneyball. Moneyball. Right?
Moneyball, for our
Yeah.
A's fans, another good movie. Yeah, there's just so many. So I say, if you haven't watched, watch Major League. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just funny. It's
That's
totally 80s, but it just works. And that's my always go to. So
it does. Mr.
Yeah.
Baseball's too. Mr. Baseball's pretty good too. With Tom Selleck. I like it.
Yeah,
Just watch
don't
it.
start
No?
there. Don't
All
listen
right.
to that suggestion.
No. Let's wrap it up. That's it.
It's definitely time to wrap it up, guys. We appreciate you guys checking it out. Let us know what your favorite baseball movie is. Check out some of the old deep cuts. We've got stuff about Blockbuster and how video game movies suck. So tell us all your favorites, and like, subscribe. We appreciate you.
Sounds good. Talk to you later, everyone.